his tweets. I was talking about how ridiculous the whole news cycle was because they were bringing back this old video from May of Kelsey's bodyguard saying that she really was the shooter, and people like, oh, look, the evidence is in. And I'm like, this is a tweet from May. And he wasn't even the bodyguard that night. He was the bodyguard who claims he overheard something during the court proceedings, whatever. And people are like, oh, that's because Jay-Z, he bought off all the jurors. I said, okay, that's an interesting idea for a tweet. So I created this whole ridiculous tweet with every conspiracy theory laid out one after the other, to the point of even saying that Jay-Z did a verse for the judge's grandson.
Yeah, that was reaching, of course.
Do you think that was reaching?
Well, hey, listen, I knew this was a satirical tweet from the get go. I was just speaking about the tweet on stream here. And by the way, I'm Vlad. I'm telling you, you fucked the hip hop game up with this. Usually, I get about 15,000 people watching me. I have 31,000 right now listening to me. Just let you know, okay? And it's all because of you. So we got to get down to some hard facts. Now,
Okay.
I'll tell you two issues. And by the way, I've also said, me and you, we trade podcast appearances. I get on Vlad TV. You come on my show. Our next podcast has to be solely about this because there's so much to talk about. There's so much to talk about. Now, I had two issues, and you could, we'll get into real depth, like I guess when we sit with each other. But my two issues was this: I think you sent and fired off this tweet because you slightly have an axe to grind still about Tory. Not that you have a problem with him, but people were skeptical of you of when you predicted an outcome, this and third. And I thought you putting up this tweet made an incident so big. Now it's like really kicking his back in for someone who is going through, like, he's incarcerated. It's not like you actually think he did it and he's free. He's incarcerated. He's trying to fight for his freedom or at least some type of relief. And I feel like this is kicking a man when he's down. Okay. Secondly, okay.
Hold on. Can I address the first one, or do you want to tell me?
No. Go ahead.
Okay. Tory has been convicted by a jury of 12 people and has been sentenced. He filed an appeal and it was rejected. Now, you could say I'm kicking him while he's down or whatever. He has gone through the legal process and it didn't work out, which is what I've been saying the whole time. I don't have an axe to pick with Tory. I don't know him. We've never spoken. I ran into his dad and we had a respectful conversation. Me and his dad have each other's phone numbers. I said he can come to my show at any point. Tory can come do Vlad TV if he wants to call in or whatever else. I publicly said I feel really bad over what happened with him over the stabbing incident. But it's just like this constant cycle of like, oh, it was really someone else. He never did it. He's Rock Nation manipulated everyone. Is just like a ridiculous theory. In the same way that I've been talking about the Nicki Minaj's of the world and so forth, this is just the same thing. I don't have an axe to pick with Tory. I hope Tory does come home sooner than expected. I've always said this.
Well, the reason why I say you possibly have an axe to grind, and it appears so, and it feels like kicking him while he's down, because like there has always been a controversial case where not all of the constituents or the citizens in the United States or viewing public agree. Like, for example, with O.J. Simpson. Would you go as far to say anybody who believes that O.J. did it, they're an idiot or they're just like lunatics? Because that's what this kind of comes across. I feel like there's a particular thing about the Tory thing. Not that I really don't think you have anything against him, but I know you, Vlad. When Vlad gives his opinion and he's right, Vlad loves to be like, I told you so. I think this is a told you so moment. Yet again, just is blown up beyond that because now people are making a lot of other assumptions.
I mean, I guess you want to, you can frame it how you want to frame it. At the end of the day, this got triggered off of Kelsey's bodyguard saying that she was the shooter because you overheard her say it during a conversation. You could check. This whole thing entered the cycle once again. And it was all over like the blogs and everything else like that. And it's like, yo, I don't want Tory to stay in prison. I think he's done his time. He went through a horrific stabbing incident. I hope he comes home early. I have nothing against Tory. He can come do the show. Me and him have had one DM exchange, and that was it. That was it. That's our only interactions. But at the end of the day, this was triggered off of the lunacy coming back into the cycle again. At the end of the day, you know that he filed an appeal and it was struck down, right? But then again, only 2% of appeals ever go through.
Yeah, and again, these are things that the reasonable people who still have doubts, they're not denying. But and so okay, we get it on that Tory part, but I think the bigger part of even why I think this kind of like it broke through the cycle is not that you just had an opinion on Tory, is that by lumping this idea of, oh, Jay-Z did this, Rock Nation did this, and then basically saying, well, if you believe that, like, come on, like, this is pure sarcasm. There's a lot of really interesting coincidences or real conversation we could have about Rock Nation and Jay-Z. And while you lump it in here, now people are saying, well, all right, we get the Tory part. Like, I do get the Tory part where you're saying, you're putting out some facts. Hey, he was convicted. Hey, the appeal didn't go through. And the video you guys are talking about was a old press conference that referred and referenced a bodyguard that wasn't a bodyguard that night. And also that bodyguard claimed that their proof was that they overheard a conversation while during the trial when they were bodyguard for Kelsey. And she allegedly...
It's all hearsay, right?
Yes.
It's all hearsay. Hearsay is not a reason to let someone out of prison. It's just hearsay. And in a court of law, it holds very little, usually no weight at all.
Okay. But the Jay-Z and Meg the Stallion stuff and well, really Rock Nation, that's where I think there's certain things that come into play that becomes a little bit, again, for someone like me, and I try to stick to the facts, but pattern recognition, sometimes it feels a little bit more than coincidental. And I think when you mention Jay and Rock Nation and how they move, I think even when Nicki's talking about them, I don't think Nicki's out there. I think Nicki's actually speaking facts. I'll be honest with you.
Nah, bro. Nicki's unhinged. She's always been unhinged.
Well, I'm not talking about everything she's saying.
Get out of here. Stop it. Me and you talked about her unhinged behavior.
No. I'm not saying about...
No, you can't use Nicki as like the...
I'm not defending
rational thought.
Okay, I'm not defending everything Nicki's ever said about everyone. I'm saying when it comes to the conversation she's had where she's mentioning Desiree Perez, Jay-Z, and Rock Nation, I don't believe those are all just, thoughts of a manic individual that have no either personal experiences with these people to support what she's saying. And here's the thing. The majority of what you've said, I could completely dispute, because even when you say, which obviously you're being facetious, you're saying, well, Rock Nation paid us $10,000 a month, right? Let me ask you a question. You're being facetious, clearly, but do you believe that there's no one in the media, I wouldn't say necessarily getting paid off by Rock Nation, but that has mutually monetary interest that would be in their benefit to defend Rock Nation or Jay-Z?
I think, as you know, not even I think, I know for a fact, and you can agree with me on this, is that once you get into a certain industry, particularly something like music and entertainment, you have relationships, and which often form into friendships with various people. Okay. So when you have relationships with people, then you're going to give them a pass. You're not going to talk bad about them, whatever else. You don't hear me ever talking bad about Boosie, right? Me and Boosie have a business relationship and a personal relationship. People have said certain things about Boosie, and I'm like, nah, I'm not co-signing that. Or I'm not even going to mention
It's a thin line, though, right? Because also, right, it's a very thin line. There's a thin line between friendship and just straight monetary incentive, right? And that's why I'm getting back to the payment, right? Because I think the old school way would be...
So hold on. Me and Boosie, we have a personal relationship, but there's also a monetary incentive for both of us.
Yeah.
To keep things moving, right? I pay him for interviews. I mean, everyone knows this. This is not a secret. I pay him to do interviews, and those interviews are profitable. So we both are mutually dependent on each other. Not dependent on each other, but we work with each other. We both make money with each other. So, yeah, there's a monetary incentive there, right?
Yes, there is.
I'm not being extorted by Boosie. The Boosie mafia is out there killing people and
with all due respect,
buying judges and whatever else.
With all due respect, Boosie's not that powerful. There's about 1,000 things Rock Nation has been either behind, whether directly or indirectly, that pattern becomes, I don't think it's a coincidence anymore. But when it comes to, like, say, payment, right? for example, there's a list of individuals that when Jay-Z was going up to get the casino deal, and he was the front celebrity, the face of the possible multi-billion dollar deal, and they needed approval of the neighborhood council. He brought on a bunch of hip hop folks to speak on his behalf. Those hip hop folks, some of them are in media. None of them, has ever thought to, either take anything of him being in the media about whatever with any type of seriousness. I don't think that's friendship. I think that's a business opportunity, right? Like, I don't think some of these people, I don't think they're friends with Jay-Z that much. It's just hey, listen, this is a guy who I'm going to make money with. If y'all are trying to bring him down, you're bringing me down. Not going to let it happen. And so that's what I was trying to say. So when you send out that tweet, and
I don't think that's much of a point. Of course, people want to work with someone that they have potential business future with. Like, this is just normal business, like, and plus you're talking about something completely different. You're talking about someone stepping forward as a character witness or someone that's dealt with someone before, as opposed to saying that this guy paid a Mexican pedophile to stab Tory. Right. So you mean to tell me that Jay is going to put his whole future, his family, and his legacy on the line worse than Bill Cosby, right? Because if it was proven that Jay-Z paid to have a man stabbed up, that's worse than what Bill Cosby did, right? And every Jay-Z, everything will go down. The NFL deal gone, album pulled off the shelves, streaming services done, invited nowhere, NFL deal, forget about it. So you can stab a dude who's already in prison?
Okay, Vlad, I'm going to respond to you, and I'm going to say something that it's going to sound crazy, but I'm going to give an explanation. It'll completely make sense.
Okay, here we go.
But this is why when you post what you posted, it's like the feds releasing the Epstein files. I know that sounds crazy.
No, remotely similar, but go ahead.
Here's the explanation. To drown out some of the actual, maybe really credible and things that we could actually be like, oh, that was really going on. Like, for example, in the Epstein files, there's an individual named Les Wexner, former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch and also of Victoria's Secret. He was literally funding this guy, knowing all of this happened. Leon Black. There's real things in there, but with the release of it, they would put some crazy shit in there to say George Bush was eating the intestines of children after they sacrificed them and eating the fecal matter out of them. You know why? That people could say, this is all bullshit. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes the most, like, again, I agree with you on that point you made about, what was the point? The last point. I don't think everything is credible. But what I'm saying is that when you blanketly act like because some of the things aren't credible means that nobody should believe anything, that becomes a problem, right? Because
what in my tweet? What? Like, name something in my tweet that's credible. Like, any of it. Like, name one credible thing in terms of what I said.
Okay, perfect. All right. So this is what I would offer up. Okay, so you have a confession. Rock Nation been paying me to support Meg. I think when, again, it's not credible as pertaining to you, but do I believe that Rock Nation, through his surrogates, has been, financially incentivizing people to either support Megan? Absolutely. Absolutely. Right? Now, again, it might not be credible to you, but when you say it as the person who, that's why I said it's the Epstein files, pause. Like, when you say, people think that, well, if this isn't true, it's not true for everybody else. Right? Because you're going to come out and say, of course they never paid me. Then people are thinking, well, they never paid anyone. Or they don't have any business incentives with people for them to support Meg on behalf of Rock Nation. Also, keep in mind, and this is why I said pattern recognition. If Rock Nation has zero, and this is why I said we could discuss all these at length. If Rock Nation has zero care about the media, right? The media supposedly, supporting Meg or painting her in a favorable light. Why did they essentially give their legal team to Meg Thee Stallion, fund millions of dollars to go after a blogger just to get $59,000? right? Why was
did Rock Nation actually fund that, or did Megan just fund that herself to prove a point? And I think, and when you talk about these media connections and so forth,
Vlad?
like I've really been
Vlad.
been kind of fair on both times, because the girl that Megan sued, I had a conversation with her and I told her that it's just financial bullying, because at the end of the day, some random blogger that doesn't have a massive following
Vlad.
like this girl putting out a couple things about Tory does not change anything.
Vlad.
Doesn't change anything.
And this is where
and funding someone like me doesn't change anything.
And Vlad,
there's too many media outlets out there. It's not like it was in the 1980s, where if you got CNN to get behind you, suddenly you change the whole narrative. No. If they get you, me, everyone we know to say something on their behalf, there's still a much bigger media monster out there and so forth that's going to drown it all out.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because they claimed that Joe Budden, me, and Milagro was enough to sway people in Tory's favor. So why wouldn't you think?
Of course they're going to say that in court, because they're trying to win money in the case.
They spent millions of dollars. But hold on. Let me just
I don't agree with this. I totally don't agree.
Okay.
I think that this girl and Joe Budden saying something makes no difference in the grand scheme of things. Okay. That's not a shot to either of them.
And let me connect the dots real quick in terms of Rock Nation. And when we do have our in-person conversation, I want you to ask me for proof, because I'm not here to just say shit that is in belief, right? So when I spoke about, and I did a 7-hour deposition with the law, it's the same law firm that's representing her, that is Alex Spiro, who's Jay-Z's personal attorney, his firm, okay? Quinn Emanuel. I sat through an 8-hour deposition. In hour 5, one of the 7 attorneys on the call, they actually slipped up, and while trying to show me an exhibit, they showed their chat. And their chat to each other was, hey, Akademiks just said this. Could you let Desiree Perez, not Meg Thee Stallion, Desiree Perez, the CEO of Rock Nation. So I know you're saying, oh, Rock Nation has nothing to do with it. Why would that be a thing? Why would, in a deposition with me for Meg versus this woman, they need to alert Rock Nation if they're not behind it? And I have proof of this. This is not something I made up. I have literal proof.
Okay. So you have an artist that's tied to Rock Nation that's suing somebody using the same law firm that Rock Nation uses. Whether Rock Nation is funding it or not funding it, I'm not quite sure.
And they're relaying information.
This is all regular legal shit. People sue all the time. I sue people. People sue me. People have sued you before. I'm not sure if you've sued people. Like, this is regular business shit. People
and they're relaying information to Rock Nation, but you think they're
okay.
They're
but isn't Megan signed to Rock Nation? So there is a business connection there. That's all fine. That's all plausible. Jay-Z buying off every juror and paying the doctor to lie about Megan getting shot.
No. Vlad, that's why ridiculous. I keep saying Epstein files. We're not saying the doctor was bought off. Like, again, I'm a skeptic. I'll definitely say I'm a skeptic. I'm one of the educated skeptics. So some of this like low-hanging fruit, I'm going to quickly dismiss it to get to the real actual points. You see the real actual point I just said? The real actual point is I sat through a 7-hour deposition, and they're relaying information to Rock Nation when you initially thought Rock Nation had zero to do with this Meg Thee Stallion lawsuit. Clearly they do if they're sending the info to the CEO. Secondly, during the trial, it's well documented that on the days that even when Meg Thee Stallion was not there, they saw sitting in tandem with the DA was Desiree Perez, CEO of Rock Nation. Again, hey, those things probably should make you raise an antenna to say, hey, maybe Rock Nation, even if it's just for their artists, and obviously think about them as a company. Think about them as a company. They have maybe a financial incentive of trying to make her look like a victim or get Tory out the way. That their CEO, that could be on doing anything at the time, is sitting in court when even their client isn't there, Meg, to make sure and confirm with the DA, hoping to get a guilty outcome. That's a little bit odd, but okay. It might be coincidences.
Well, hold on. Their client is in court, not as someone being prosecuted, but as the victim. They're being supportive of their client, and
they're confirmed with the DA.
Personal, you know how it is in this business. Yeah, like you sign to people and you have personal relationships with people. I don't know what the personal relationship is between Megan and the people she signed to. Does she have a personal relationship with Jay? Does she have a personal relationship with Desiree? I mean, it's quite likely. And people showing up to support people, that's pretty normal. You see this all over the place. People are making a big deal because
you're missing the point. I'm trying to show you the proof of why regular people would think something seems odd. Have you ever heard of, in any regular cases, you're right, you've watched criminal cases, you've sued people civilly, and you've been sued, and so have I on a civil level. Have you ever seen where a CEO of a company that is signing a supposed victim, Meg Thee Stallion, is speaking to a DA in court while they are pursuing charges on someone else? Have you seen a manager talk to the DA as if they possibly could have some influence or could even ask questions when they're not the victim? That doesn't sound odd to you?
I don't see the huge problem with it. Like, you're representing the victim. At the end of the day, you're concerned about the victim. The victim is signed to you, and you may have an actual friendship with the victim.
So you're saying
you're on the side of the process, and you're on the side of the prosecution in this particular case, right? DA is representing.
They're not
Megan.
a victim. So if I go into court when they're prosecuting,
Megan's not the victim. What?
No, but
Megan's the victim.
Desiree Perez.
Hold on. She's basically sitting with the victim's lawyers, the DA, right? That's the victim's lawyers. The district attorney is legally representing Megan.
Yes.
You're sitting with the lawyers of the victim.
Desiree Perez is not a lawyer.
No, hold on.
She's not a lawyer.
Huh?
Desiree Perez is the CEO of Rock Nation. She's not a lawyer.
The DA is the lawyer.
Yes.
Right?
But why would they be sitting with a company CEO for a civil case between two individuals?
I'm sorry?
Why would the DA be sitting with a CEO of a company in a case between a aggravated assault case between two individuals? It's like imagine the CEO of Google comes to talk to the DA. Comes to talk to the DA about you versus somebody getting a fist fight. You wouldn't say this is a little bit odd?
Listen. If I signed you, right? Me and you are friends, right? We talk off camera way more than on camera, right? Am I right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Me and you talk all the time. We run into each other. It's all whatever else, right?
Okay.
If you got attacked and the DA represented you, and you were signed to me, let's say, I signed you. I signed Akademiks, right? And then you got brutally attacked and someone shot you. Let's say Nicki shot you in the foot, right? Nicki Minaj shot Akademiks in the foot, and Akademiks went to the DA. The DA is, taking his case on. He's going to court, and I sat with you on the DA side, and I'm talking to the DA saying, how do you think this is going? Whatever else. Why would that be weird at all? I am with my friend / client as he's being represented legally in a very serious case. Like, it's not that weird. It's not that strange at all. I would probably do the same thing. I would sit there and talk to the DA, hoping that you would get justice in this case.
The picture that was painted is that they were conferring as if the CEO of Rock Nation has a particular stake. But okay, again, you see, I'm pointing out coincidences.
She has a client that's financially viable.
Okay, all right.
And they may even have a personal relationship on top of that.
Right. But Vlad, you can't have this both ways then, right? Because
but you don't know what they're saying.
Vlad.
Desiree Perez saying, I'll pay the DA.
I'm trying to stick to factual, but you're trying to have it both ways. I'm gonna tell you why, right? So I'm talking about a factual thing that happened. I'm saying I think that seems out of the ordinary. You're saying no, it doesn't. Well, if you're admitting, right, you're saying it doesn't seem out of the ordinary because they have this financial stake in Meg. Why does it seem out of the ordinary that maybe if their financial stake in Meg is that people see her as this victim and that Tory doesn't get to tell his part, maybe why does it not seem kind of not out of the ordinary that maybe they paid somebody to go attack him? Why does one seem completely normal and then the other, like if they need to show up to court, they're right there in the DA's ear. Now Tory's convicted, but he's still he's still shouting on the highest mountains. By the way, Meg's career has not recovered since then. People still think of her like a liar. You don't think the one thing that could make this all go away is if Tory dies? Why don't you think that maybe I'm not taking that leap, but what I'm saying is that you're on one side of the fence, you're saying it's completely normal that they have a stake in their artist and their artist is going through a case. They have financial incentive there. That's why they're talking to the DA. Fine. I'm giving you that. That's normal. Well, Why is it then not normal if you feel like this guy might be nearing an appeal decision or whatever? Hey, let's make sure this motherfucker don't get out. Is that such a wild thing? They have no stake there either? And I'm not only talking about the stabbing. I'm not only talking about the stabbing. I'll talk about other things.
Okay, I would completely address this.
Okay.
Showing up for physical and emotional support is totally legal. Hiring someone for murder and risking your entire future, ending up, listen, a murder for hire? You're talking about Desiree Perez will be sitting there right next to Lil Durk in a murder for hire case. If this was actually true, that's a huge leap. Showing up to court and having some words with the DA, hiring someone for murder, paying off a judge, paying off jury tampering, judge tampering. These are all serious felonies. And you're not going to say it's the same thing because it's not. These are totally different accusations.
Okay.
If you were signed to me, I would show up to court, I'd talk to the DA.
Okay.
If you're like, yo, man, I need you to kill Nicki Minaj, I said, no, I'm good. You're on your own with this one, Act. I need you to pay off the jury. Pay off the jury? You crazy? Okay. No, I'm not paying off anybody.
Okay, so what you're trying to do right now, you're doing a little bit of straw man, but let me say this to you: if 7 years ago I told you that maybe there were these wealthy people who used another wealthy guy that we don't know how he got rich, and they used his connects to go fuck with little girls and go over to an island, would you say who the hell would be billionaires and risk their freedom too? Would you say that, or would you say no? Of course they would do it.
Listen, obviously the Epstein files proved what they proved,
and there's some what did they prove? Wait, what did they? What they proved is that there are people who think they're so powerful they operate above the law and beyond the law, and you can't put out of their reach that they might do something like that. That's the proof. More than sticking to one particular thing. Okay, let's say the Mexican guy has nothing to do with whatever. You don't think that there's probably a little bit of influence politically? Like, clearly when Tory gets locked up, it's either pardon or he's going to get an appeal. You don't think maybe there's a little bit of throwing their weight around to maybe make sure that Gavin Newsom, knows, hey, listen, the powers that be would not like a pardon to even be discussed, right? And maybe we don't see that, but maybe later on we see Gavin Newsom kicking it with some of the same people, kind of accusing the same cabal. They're at the Fanatics Fest in 2026 at the Super Bowl week. I don't know. I'm just saying, at what point do we start looking at the Epstein files and say we ignored a lot of shit? And Vlad, in 2018, people would have called those people lunatics. In 2019, lunatics. 2020, lunatics. All the way up till half the files are released. They're like, fuck, these guys are really spitting.
Listen, I don't think that you need to pay off Gavin Newsom to...
It's not about paying off. It's influence, it's everything else.
Listen, at the end of the day, Tory is an immigrant. No, sorry, not even an immigrant. He is a Canadian citizen that came over to this country and shot a U.S. citizen in the foot, and he was convicted of it. I don't think that Gavin Newsom is going to pardon him on any level. He doesn't need Jay-Z or Desiree Perez or even Epstein to try to get him to change his mind. Tory's not going to be pardoned by Gavin Newsom. I even threw in that tidbit at the end. I'm like, okay, well, this is going to make it totally obvious. And Jay-Z even paid off Donald Trump not to pardon Tory, even though he can't actually do it. But, Trump likes to bend the rules. Trump cannot pardon someone in a state case. We both know that. I'm literally just making shit up as I'm typing.
I'm not getting at your post. We acknowledge that you were being facetious. What I'm saying is that the overall, I know you're going to continue with saying, hey, listen, everything I said, these are complete just bullshit. And I'm not talking about everything specifically, but there are some overtones that we should possibly look at. For example, I do think there's a conversation to be had about even how that process, like if we're going to make it about Tory, which I think is bigger than that. The conversation of, all right, why and when was Tory charged, right? If you want to believe certain things in his appeal or other things that got reported, it was said that, okay, yes, Meg was a little bit non-cooperative, but they approached the DA. They approached the DA and said, hey, listen, we need this guy to be indicted. And the indictment came. And so what happened is everything that happened. Now, again, I'm not here trying to argue, law and order or should justice be given, but my thing is the invisible hand. There's always and this is what the Epstein files is about. These people that did shit behind the scenes that was really in plain sight, but it was always seen as coincidence. It was always seen as, okay, why are these two hanging out? It's not until you see them on an island in a picture with like a Power Ranger panties like in between them, you're like, oh, they're fucking kids. At some point, we have to figure what these associations are. Yes, Jay's named twice in the Epstein files, but he was kicking it with Harvey Weinstein. I just want the Steen files. That's it. Not just Epstein, the Weinstein files too. You don't think there should be something, maybe even asked about when it comes to, have you seen the videos of Jay and Weinstein solely cozying up? No?
I mean, they have, did they have some sort of relationship? Was Weinstein a major Hollywood player? And was Jay-Z also a major entertainment player? Yeah.
Was Weinstein a major creep and accused of being a major creep?
Well, he got convicted of it. So yes, he was. Was Jay part of any of these activities?
As Jay-Z has any accusations that could be similar to that, not saying he's convicted or even accused, but do you think there should be no conversation, or you think it's just so out the realm of of possibility for even a discussion to be had?
Listen, we could always have discussions about everything, and that's cool. The whole purpose of these tweets is to show people how gullible they actually are. That's the joke. The joke wasn't my tweet. It was the reaction, and I was right. Like so many. This tweet is at over 10 million impressions right now.
I know.
And all over TikTok, all over Instagram, all over other social media platforms. It probably has 100 million impressions. Would you say that's right?
It does. But I do want to. So again, and I'm trying to like focus like the conversation here on really the biggest, again, you're my man. So it's like we'll never really have like a real problem with each other when it comes to shit like this. But just like, on a debate level. But my problem with this is actually everybody at this point, and I did a lead up when I was introing this topic to explain your platform, what you've done, how you have, essentially at this point, you are one of the biggest hip hop platforms and one of the biggest independent media platforms that was once ostracized and people, tried to disrespect. At this point, I think you've taken your respect, and I love that. And you are putting out some of the greatest content. I love that too. But I do want to say when you put a tweet out like this, and you're right. I'm actually using your own words that you just said about like a minute ago, where you said you wanted to show how some people are stupid or dumb for even believing this. Well, you do realize that a lot of your own viewers that watched you over the years when maybe you were ostracized for some of the hip hop interviews you now get, they watched you basically try to decode whether it was a Tupac's murder, whether it was Biggie's murder. And at that point, we've gotten official responses from all investigative bodies that sometimes went against what you later found, which later then came out, and we know that's the case with Tupac. So there's a time that we could have been watching your content and said, why does Vlad have this fucking lunatic on here talking all the shit? Years later, we see in Vegas, the guy got picked up for everything he said on your podcast. So what I'm saying is that how much are the people that are believing either any of this or some of it or even a piece of it stupid, or maybe, there's some things to be discussed, maybe even if you were being, I think you were being satirical.
Look, part of my job is to educate my viewers as well. Like, I want the overall intelligence of my community to go up. And if that means I ostracize certain people who think that everything I said in that tweet is true, then I get it. Not every person is matched to a certain media personality, whatever. But at the end of the day, like, name me something in that tweet that has any level of truth, and I'll gladly discuss it. Now, if something comes forward, if it was proven that Jay paid off the doctor or had something to do with the judge or whatever else, and it goes to court and it gets proven in the same way that Epstein got proven, same way that what's his name? Harvey Weinstein got proven, then that's cool. We could discuss it. But these are all just weird allegations. These are all conspiracy theories. The same way that Tory's dad had that outburst at the end. It's like, it's all Rock Nation. Rah! That doesn't help anybody, man. That doesn't help anybody. It's not going to help like get Tory out. And at the end of the day, Tory has to work through the legal system. His appeal did not go through, which is, not a surprise because only 2% of appeals goes through. If he finds, now Tory wants to use his bodyguard, but his bodyguard has had a chance to actually testify during the trial. Tory had a chance to take the stand. Okay. And this is when I ran to his dad. The first thing I said was, listen, I said what I said about your son, but I still feel that if he didn't do it, he should have taken the stand. His dad's like, well, he couldn't have done that. And I'm like, no, he could have. He could have done that. Because I interview lots of people who take the stand in their own cases and end up winning.
Okay. So, and again, I'm only going off things that, I think people who are rational and reasonable could maybe say, well, that's interesting, and just have a question. And I'll mention one of those things as you just said. Well, in your tweet, it says they paid off the doctor to lie about bullet fragments. She was never shot.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, this is the actual story of how all of that came about, right? This is not just lunatics making that up. Some people might believe that the doctors may have gotten some type of outside interference. I'll tell you why. Because after Meg Thee Stallion had contact with the police, and she said, I was not shot. I stepped on glass. She was transported to the Cedars-Sinai Hospital, and after they did an initial examination, there was an actual doctor, Dr. Lafredo, who said that the injury seems consistent with glass, not a bullet. So a doctor did say that. However, a further doctor, which I believe was an orthopedic doctor, then did a full scan of her foot, and then they actually said, yes, there are bullet fragments that we need to perform some minor surgery. So here's the thing. There's two different doctors that we're hearing with two different situations. And the medical report was actually, it was supplemented to an LAPD report. So it's not that someone just wrote it up. So do you at least understand that if people do think that, oh, wait, why is that switch up? It's like when the government tells us, hey, COVID wasn't created in the lab. Then later they're like, yeah, that shit was created in the lab. Which one are we supposed to believe? If you hear multiple reports, it's normal for the human mind. It's not because they're lunatics or stupid for them to say, well, why did the answer change? And that's where speculation comes in.
Yeah, and I get it. And look, in a court of law, the judge instructs the jury to say that if this particular witness or whatever person who takes a stand is lying and is caught lying, you could say that everything else they're saying is lying as well, right? And in the case of Megan, she was caught lying multiple times outside of the courtroom. She did say she stepped on glass first. Her explanation was, I didn't want the police to start arresting everybody and everything else like that, especially, in this environment. I think it was COVID and the police were, targeting Black people and everything else like that. So, yeah, she was caught lying with that. And also when she did Gayle King, they asked if her and Tory had a sexual relationship. She said no. Yes, she was caught lying with that, too. And I think that's the problem, that Megan was lying a couple of times when she didn't have to. And that, in turn, made people think, well, she must be lying about every other single thing. But the thing is that she was not under oath with those other lies. When she takes a stand, she is under oath, and it's a whole different story. You know that. People say lots of shit in the media and in interviews. Once they take the stand, like we saw, like, for example, Cassie's story changed. The civil lawsuit said one thing, but once she took that stand and took that oath and was under threat of perjury, she started saying very different stories. Oh, yes, yes, I guess he did. I did say that he raped me, but I guess he didn't really rape me, at the end, because I went and saw him again multiple times after that. So, yeah, I guess that part of the lawsuit's not exactly true. You see what I'm saying? It is very different. I think. And again, and I think that a lot of people are saying, well, Megan must be lying about everything because she lied about those couple things, right? And I get why people think that. I've never had a conversation with Megan, ever. Ever. I have no connection with her whatsoever. I don't know her manager. I don't know her. She's never reached out to thank me for being supportive of her during the whole time. I said, listen, Tory's going to go to jail over this. She's never thanked me for this. Like, I don't know her. I don't have a dog in this fight whatsoever. But at the end of the day, reality is reality. Tory got convicted. Tory's appeal didn't go through. He's going to have to, sit out the whole rest of the time. And I don't think Jay had anything to do with his situation. I think Tory being drunk, Tory having a little man complex. You've seen all types of other violent incidents that Tory has had, right? Mm-hmm. He's threatened people. He's wanting to take guns. He played with guns and so forth. He had substance problems. And ultimately, when someone is going through situations like that, things like this happen.
Okay.
And there's repercussions to that. And this is why he is where he is right now.
Hey, I'm not. Hey, listen. I think Tory made a couple of mistakes that night. I think he was chasing that punani.
Yeah. Right.
Just like many men, that insatiable thirst and appetite for, for beautiful women. That's pretty much kind of where everything kind of devolved and really, spiraled. Yeah. So I agree with you. He made mistakes.
Hold on. I just want to say this. By the way, after I put this out, I had a message from one of the nurses that was there when Megan went to the hospital. And she said, I was a travel nurse in LA. Megan had bullet fragments removed from her heels. I seen this with my own eyes. I pulled out meds for the doctor for pain and to numb the area so she could tolerate the removal. Well, I think she had bullet fragments, man. I don't think Jay-Z bribed the doctor and threw some bullet fragments at him and said, hey, put these on the scene.
Well, tell that travel nurse congratulations on violating HIPAA laws. And, if they ever subpoena your DMs and they found out who that is, that person will be prosecuted.
Listen, you want to send messages out to the media outlets,
Hey, no, it's neither here nor there.
That is on you. I can't protect her at this point. I'm not saying her name at this point, but
it's neither here nor there. Vlad, I guess I hear your Tory specific points, and my thing is that my overall thing is that I won't agree, even though I know you're being satirical, whatever. But I do want people to know there's an invisible hand in mostly everything in American society, whether it's politics, whether it's media, whether it's hip hop, whether it's with labels, whether it's this whole new infrastructure with AI. There's always going to be an invisible hand. And if you think that everything needs to be completely black and white without doubt for you to completely just believe it, no, doubt is what usually is the prerequisite for us to unearth some shit like the Epstein list, right? I'll give you this about the pardoning. Like, yes, I believe this is completely bullshit what you're saying when you say Jay-Z paid for Trump not to pardon Tory. Obviously, Trump can't pardon Tory. It's a state case. But what we should be very aware of is that, number one, there's influence everywhere. And I'm going to just use this quick analogy. If you think that this is like politicians don't get influence, maybe not paid, because yes, you go to jail if that's found out. But if you think that there's not influence anywhere, think about this, okay? In 2025, Trump pardoned a host and list of people. If you really look at that list, you'll start to kind of realize how stuff goes. Number one, yes, Kentrell Gaulden was pardoned, which obviously we know is actually not pardoned. His sentence actually was pardoned. Yeah, he is pardoned for his sentence with the gun. And his thing was commutated, which is his jail sentence, or it was on house arrest at the time. But if you look at the other people on that list, right, one includes, and some of these names, at least for the public, they might not know who these people are, but Julie Chrisley and also, or Chrisley, I think I might be saying the name wrong, and Todd Chrisley. Both of them also got pardoned. Those are the ones that really, those are the bigger things, bigger fish to fry than Youngboy. Youngboy gets the conversation. But go look at what they did, and look at how, if you think these things are random, the daughter of both of them spoke at the Republican National Committee, the RNC conference a year before. The same month, they did an interview on Fox with a Make America Great Again hat, really chanting, yo, we love Trump, we love Trump. If you think it's just random that her mom gets pardoned and her dad gets pardoned after that, there's no influence on whether it's Trump or even Gavin Newsom, okay, all right, the coincidences are just too crazy. But if you then say Gavin Newsom, who actually does have the power to pardon Tory, if you think there's been zero influence, while he, like, again, maybe he's not speaking about the case particularly, no one's asking about it, but he's putting up posts using Meg the Stallion songs, okay? Not once, not twice, multiple times at this point from what I've seen, unless maybe some of those are edits, but definitely at least once, because I saw it on his account. Then you see him basically, shoulder to shoulder at the, like, what I think has kind of replaced the Rock Nation brunch because it got too hot because of Diddy. is pretty much all this Fanatics Fest stuff. They now do the white parties and they do all the, hey, this is the industry, rigmarole, the shish kebab. This is the place where we all get it going. You see Gavin Newsom there. He's putting up a bunch of Meg Thee Stallion stuff. Maybe he's just a fan. Maybe he likes to twerk. I hear he's into trans stuff, but whatever. Either that's the case, or maybe the people who he's rubbing shoulders with, they might say, hey, listen, just if this ever comes on your desk, we can't pay you. That's clearly fraud, and that's a jailable offense. But we don't fuck with that guy, Tory. I don't know, and I wouldn't have proof of it, because if I did, it would be a bigger story. But it is a interesting coincidence that the governor is hanging with the niggas that basically wouldn't want to see Tory out. And essentially, when he's posting, trying to make political ads, he's using Meg Thee Stallion songs. I don't know. Coincidence again, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, it's not like Tory was on the verge of getting pardoned. Even the Menendez brothers didn't get pardoned. And they did like 30 years. At the end of the day, you can't go to any country, right? Let an American go to any country in the world and shoot one of their citizens and think that they're going to get pardoned by the governor or president of that country. Seriously. Just take a step back. Tory is not an American citizen. He may sound American when he raps and talks, but he is a Canadian citizen. He's going to get deported the day he gets out.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing.
No. That's a big deal.
No, I hear what you're saying, but Gavin Newsom,
already a huge incentive for Gavin Newsom not to pardon this guy. This guy's never been on the verge of getting pardoned. He went to the Supreme Court of California and they struck it down.
Hold on. Here's the thing, though. Gavin Newsom, though, he's been preventing ICE from coming into his state, because he's not into deportation. So what you're saying about Tory, he technically wouldn't be with. So it's
no. You can't compare an old man that's been living in this country for 30 years, getting roughed up and thrown into a van and sent back to Mexico, and someone who comes over to shoot somebody. I don't think that Gavin Newsom has a problem with illegal aliens who shoot people in California getting deported. I think he's totally fine with those people getting deported.
Vlad, he is.
Okay, it's not the same. No, you can't connect those two dots.
Vlad, LA itself is a sanctuary city. Like they literally are saying when they release their inmates, even if there's a federal hold detainer that should instantly transfer them to ICE, they're actually going against federal orders. When ICE asked if they could round up people in LA County, they said, no, you out there, you know what's up. So don't act like this guy. Again, I'm not, obviously we're getting into weeds here, but the idea that you're trying to say, this was completely off the table because this guy is going to be deported. Well, the guy that would be considering it don't even believe in deportations, technically, if we're talking about what he outwardly supports.
We're not even talking about deportation. We're talking about a foreigner coming into this country and shooting one of the U.S. citizens. No one's for this. Nobody's cool with this. Nobody.
Not explicitly, but if you're not down to stand against them getting deported, it seems like you're looking at it not like that.
Governors before. I have connections with governors, right? I have certain governors on text that answer back right away, right? But at the end of the day, I'm not going to tell them to go against, to go and pardon somebody who went into their state and shot somebody from a different country. Like, it's a whole different situation. Being an ICE sanctuary city and actually, freeing someone who shot a woman who's an American citizen who came from another country to do it, no one is cool with this. Nobody's going to co-sign this. I don't think Trump would have pardoned Tory if it was a federal case. Trump would probably get, and Trump has been paid off with people, right? Trump you could probably buy, right? Which is why I put in that whole ridiculous thing. Oh, he even paid off Trump because Trump likes to bend the rules. Trump is dealing with a governor that hates him. Trump cannot call Gavin Newsom and say, hey, listen, make an exception and free Tory because they just paid me $10 million.
Hey, I'm not putting anything against
Gavin Newsom tell them kick rocks. They hate each other.
I'm not putting anything above any of these politicians. Again, Trump himself has pardoned.
You're right. At the end of the day, politics, everything can be worked out.
Trump has pardoned people. Some of the January 6ers who got pardons. It's not just a pardon for that one particular thing. It was blanket pardons, which a lot of them had domestic violence and other thing that was violence against women on their docket, and it's now been wiped clean. So this idea that a governor is above, and here's the thing, it's not something where everyone is in cahoots that, we believe he did it. It's a little bit, I'm looking at it from the hip hop perspective. I don't know what the mainstream perspective. It feels still split, maybe 40-60, 60-40, whatever way you want to go with it. This is something that some people, it's kind of going down how some people viewed eventually the Central Park Five. And again, not to kind of completely bring it there, but some people felt like that happened, and some people felt like it didn't. And then later on, those people were eventually free. So
exonerated. Yeah, I mean, listen, I did the first like hip hop Central Park 5 interview.
Okay, see?
Which with I think two of the guys, and eventually led to the documentary, and then they're exonerated and whatever else. Like, I get it, I get it. But
has Rock Nation reached out?
What's that?
Has Rock? I'm gonna be honest with you.
No,
so,
Rock Nation has not reached out.
I think that's the story in itself.
Gmail account. I remember like my assistant got some weird email saying, "I'm representing Rock Nation. You need to remove that tweet immediately." Someone with a Gmail account I've never heard of. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Vlad, I think,
and if Rock Nation, let's just say, because remember I was on Piers Morgan with the whole Jaguar rights situation, which he spewed all that nonsense, and Rock Nation did reach out to Piers, and Piers did publicly apologize and take that clip down and so forth. If Rock Nation were to reach out, I will gladly say it was all sarcasm, it was comedy, it was designed to make people look silly, which it did. In fact, I think it helped you guys more than anything else.
I think that's why they haven't reached out.
Yeah, exactly. I think it actually helps them way more than it hurts them on any level. Because conspiracy theorists are always going to think that, regardless of what they put out. I think they're totally fine with it. In the same way, listen, Sneeko called me the same night and asked me about it. I've never doubled down on this. I've said, yeah, like at the point that I got off Twitter, I've been admitting that this is all, this is all silly.
All right. So the follow-up question to that would be, because I believe you, right?
Yeah.
Knowing how Rock Nation operates, they've, there's a video that was discovery material from Desiree Perez, CEO of Rock Nation, and her daughter ongoing case, which was a home recording that made its way online. And Rock Nation quickly reached out to any outlets that even used it and said, hey, listen, we will pursue legal action. They've also reached out when people even, made any more than a light insinuation when he had civil accusations. They are really lawyer ready. So the fact that they haven't done that with you, they probably think you're help doing their bidding. Do you feel like at this point that your post and demeanor to say this is to make y'all look foolish actually helps Rock Nation, because they really want to, it's like the real creeps in the Epstein files are saying, yeah, look at all this other stuff. Did you really believe George Bush was eating the intestines of little children? Again, do you think that maybe your post still being up is actually, indirectly working for them, or, it seems to be helping them?
I don't have a dog in the fight with either person. I don't have a relationship with Jay. I don't have a relationship with Megan. I don't have a relationship with Rock Nation or anyone really that has to do with Megan or so forth. Nor do I have a relationship with Tory. I am really totally neutral in this case. I am a complete outsider, which isn't always the case in my line of work because I have relationships with a lot of people. I've interviewed a lot of people. But in this particular case, I've never sat down with Jay. I've never sat down with Megan. I've never sat down with Tory.
Interesting.
All three of those, I don't have any level of connection with. Like I said, me and Tory, we exchanged one set of DMs a long time ago during this trial, where I made a comment about him, and he DM'd me and called me a cop or whatever else. He tried to see what I actually knew, and I told him, like, what I know is what's obvious out there, and that's that. He's like, "Well, you a cop?" And I'm like, "Okay, cool, whatever." Like, I've always said, if Tory wants to come do an interview, in fact, there was a conversation about him doing an interview on Vlad TV, while locked up. The other day, I have nothing against Tory. When I met his dad, I was super respectful. And me and his dad have each other's phone numbers. His dad could call me and address all this.
Hey, so, and I know you put that offer out there. I'm wondering if, and you say you have no dog in a race or horse in a race, right, whatever.
Yeah.
Would you do an interview with Nessa? And I know you've had Van before, if you would do it with either. So let me give you the story behind them and their connection with the Rock Nation and Jay-Z. So Nessa is the girlfriend, I believe girlfriend or maybe wife, of Colin Kaepernick. She came out, and I know you have said Nicki is just a whack job, but she came out and she supported Nicki. And she said, well, some of the things that she's saying actually goes right in line with my experience. Jay-Z came in and co-opted this entire movement that my husband or my guy started by kneeling, and he basically communicated with us that he was on our side. He got us out the paint. He basically did the bidding off the NFL, and it was, again, I'm still going to say, the byproduct of the invisible hand moving those out that is problematic and getting what they want, whether it's a conviction, whether it's, get this motherfucker to stop kneeling. We trying to get some ads. She has a story to tell. I think she's still on Hot 97. I don't think she's cool. Van Lathan, who used to work for TMZ, came out and said, "Hey, when the stories broke of I think it was Colin, either when he was trying to get back in the NFL or something adjacent to Colin Kaepernick in the NFL, there was conversation. I think he said this publicly too. There was conversation that came to the office via Rock Nation that was preventing basically Colin Kaepernick from looking a certain way, or they were trying to plant a story. I can't remember the real thing. He could speak about it because I've talked about this with him in length. And he started to say, I'm not going to lie, there's something about this Rock Nation shit. It's kind of spooky. That's what we would love for you to investigate, though, Vlad, because you're really good at this. But I'm telling you that there's some non-kooky stuff that we should really talk about that, again, yes, your tweet you just made up on the fly, but some of these people you're talking about, they're not just like randomly named. It's a reason why people would believe it. And
yeah, I mean, look, Jay has a major role in the NFL right now. The fact that he gets to pick the halftime performer really makes him a kingmaker. Think about the favors that he could cash in years to come in exchange for putting certain people. Like, for example, do you think Bad Bunny will tell him no for anything he asks in the future?
Hey,
Jay really went against the grain and put a guy in the Super Bowl who doesn't speak any English and pissed off everyone. And the president, there was a whole competing halftime show, whatever else. Jay did this dude a solid, and Bad Bunny owes it. So obviously it's a major position, and in the position, part of the dialogue between the NFL and Jay was like, listen, we kind of want this Kaepernick thing to kind of go away and kind of downplay it. Yeah, okay, I get it. He has a financial incentive to make it go away and so forth. Nessa has a baby with Kaepernick, so obviously she's going to play things a certain type of way. Now, when I look at that case, just to be honest, though, you had a mediocre quarterback at that point. And you could look at my interview with Warren Sapp, right, who is a major NFL Hall of Famer, who is tied to the Raiders.
You're trying to change the point, though. Like,
no, hold on.
I've never defended this guy as a good quarterback.
It was one of the worst tryouts ever.
Okay.
You go and sue a corporation and then want a job afterwards? Good luck with that. It wasn't going to happen anyways. But did Jay have some sort of he kind of moved things around to make sure that the job he got was secured? Yeah, maybe. But that's a lot different than sending someone to go kill a guy in prison and hiring a pedophile to do it, which is what happened, right? It's different than paying off a judge, having some words with someone or whatever else, and using your star power. Listen, man, you and I use our star power to get shit. Have you ever been to a restaurant and there's no reservation? Oh, Akademiks, come on in. Oh, I got a table for you. Oh, no, it's on the house. Here's some free food. Oh, here's a discount on this. Here's that.
Vlad, I hear what you're saying. What I'm saying is that there's only one entity that's hip-hop adjacent or hip-hop related that have 5,000 accusations of underhanded tactics, going all the way from framing people for convictions to influencing powerful people to keep other people's out the spot, that we could tangibly see every day that are actually making decisions, right? It's not like we're like, no, like
did he hasn't been doing this his whole career? The Shine case, the whole case with the celebrity basketball game where people died,
and the whole dialogue about Diddy is that once the power and influence went away, he got exposed, and even the things that we learned. How was he able to cover up this for 20 years or 30 years? How? If they told you he blew up Kid Cudi's car back in 2010, you would have said, that's ridiculous. This guy's a billionaire. Who would actually threaten their livelihood as a billionaire to break in someone's house with a gun and then blow up his house with some type of firebomb? Wouldn't you say that, Vlad? Be honest. It would sound ridiculous.
No, listen.
And now when we
see
see the videos and pictures, we're like, wow, he did
I see
that.
your point of this, and look, and then it came out later on that Diddy was a drug addict, right? And this is some druggy behavior, right? This is what drug addicts do. You've never seen someone do something stupid on drugs? I have.
Well, and let me tell you,
someone's car on fire.
From my knowledge,
versions of this.
From my knowledge in the entire entertainment industry, everyone has their vice or their drug of choice or whatever.
Right.
But I think the biggest drug overall is power, and absolute power corrupts. And the point is this: when you look at Rock Nation and Jay-Z, like, it doesn't. I don't think I would call someone stupid or foolish if they said this, right? Let me just make like if someone said, or let's say a Drake fan says, "Hey, I think that Jay-Z may have wanted to, add a little bit flame to the fire of Kendrick Lamar, and he made Kendrick perform that, the biggest song that was dissing the biggest rapper at the time that, just legacy-wise, his legacy is being compared to this guy. He gave the guy the platform that he could try to bring the other guy down. Would that be, like, so far-fetched to even come up with that? Granted, we don't have full proof.
I think that people do a lot of legal stuff to move their influence around and so forth. I've done it. You've done it. At the end of the day, I've had situations where people come to me and said, "Hey, we want to interview this guy that doesn't like you." The
problem is we're not that powerful, Vlad.
And they're like, "All right, cool. Yeah, fuck that guy then." I'm trying to maintain a relationship with you. I mean, I've told lots of times that Boosie called me and said, "Can you please stop interviewing Charleston White?" And
by you admitting that,
I did it. And me and Charles ran into each other. You were right there when it happened. At the Aiden Ross fight. I walked up to him. We talked about it. I'm like, "Yo, bro, like, I don't have anything against you, but this whole thing about talking about kids and all that is really not cool." And he's like, "Nah, I know, but it's just words." And me and him talk. I don't have any hatred towards him, but Boosie pulled that card, and he used his influence, and based on our relationship, he pulled that off. You haven't seen the Charleston interview since then.
Hey, and right? I agree with you that these things happen. And
this is normal. This is normal.
And my thing is this, and I've always said, like, hey, listen, it's a reason. If I ran the Spotify, with great power, you need to have great scrutiny, right? So I always said, listen, if I ran Spotify Rap Caviar, you'd never see a Freddie Gibbs song on there to say none of the niggas I like would ever be up there, period. You get what I'm saying? So, the people that do run it, you have to kind of scrutinize, because here's the thing. Yes, fine. You don't like someone, you don't platform. And I don't like someone, I don't platform. The max I could do is, all right, little baby, you about to go through a tough PR look for the next 18 months. Good luck, right? But that's about it. If I ran the label he's on, I would make sure he's in Sri Lanka performing for monkeys. That's it. Like, you'd be out of here. So again, there's different levels of power. And what I'm saying is that Rock Nation is what we've seen, and we're constantly hearing their name connected to stuff, not just the Tory stuff, but just so much more. That's why I can't look at what Nicki's saying and say, "Hey, you're just a kook," right? On this particular thing where she has seemingly an axe to grind with Jay-Z and Rock Nation and some of the things she's bringing up, and then I see these other things that are happening. I'm like, okay, we should probably look at it now before it's too late. And we're sitting back to say, how did Diddy get away with this for this long? And most would argue that when it comes to Jay-Z, he's infinitely more powerful than Diddy was ever at Diddy's height. Because at Diddy's height, he was still that one-man show that was just running around with vodka, right? When you think about Jay-Z, he used everybody, he got Tidal, and then basically he sells Tidal to Square. He's now on the board of Square. You're seeing him walk around with Jack Dorsey, the guy who was the original founder of Twitter, and they're like best friends on vacation now. They own Cash App. Basically, once you start to see he's with Harvey Weinstein, it's probably not that out of the realm of the possibility that Jay-Z's power may allow for some of these things to happen. We're not saying it did happen, but a good investigation or questioning on whether it happened or not, or his association, I think is warranted. But just to wrap this up, because I know I've had you on for a while, but you're just being facetious. Good, you're being facetious, right?
Yeah, I'm being facetious, man. At the end of the day, Jay-Z does have a lot of power in the business world, and he does have a lot of relationships. At the end of the day, if Jay-Z called me, I would have that phone call. right? I would take that call if he wanted to have a meeting. I would take
I'd
that
have it
meeting.
too.
I would seriously listen to what he had to say. You know, I don't always take meetings. I remember when we had like a long time ago when the Cassie nude pics had leaked, and we posted them right away, right? I mean, in retrospect, I wouldn't do that today, but back in the day, yeah, we posted it. And I remember my man Sean Perez called me. He was like, "Yo, Diddy wants to talk to you," and I'm like, "Nope." He's like, "You don't want to talk to Diddy?" I'm like, "No, I know what this is about. I'm not going to sit there and get yelled at by Diddy, because then I'm going to start yelling back, and the next thing you know, there's going to be a shouting match over the phone, and whatever. I'm not taking the pics down. I'm not talking to Diddy." And eventually, someone he contacted Steve Rifkin, who owned SRC Records, and we were based in his office at the time. And Steve Rifkin was like, "Yo, Diddy just yelled at me about these pictures. Can you please take them down?" And I'm like, "Okay, well, I have to listen to," and so forth. So you see these types of maneuvers and so forth that's done in the business world with powerful people contacting other powerful people, and sooner or later people get in line and so forth. But that's very different than buying off a judge. It's not the same thing as buying off jurors. It's not the same thing as murder for hire. It's not the same thing as bribing doctors and everything else like that. These are all felonies, right? Diddy was not going to catch a felony over getting some pictures taken down, and I was not going to catch a felony over telling him no.
That's the difference between Diddy and Jay. Listen, the point of when I brought up initially, I said, listen, in 2018, there's this group. It's called QAnon. They came up with this idea that there were people who were operating above the law and they were doing weird things. And people said these are the far-right lunatics who are kooks. And then later on, when the Epstein files are released, they're like, damn, how did these guys know? The thing is, you're assuming that the most that if someone gets to the level of power that has an organization like Roc Nation that is in bed with all the other billionaires, that they're above doing something that could be potentially criminal, or at least skating lines that you and me know if you get caught doing, you're getting locked up. Well, I'm wondering why it seemed like 100 billionaires that allegedly is mentioned in this Epstein file. Why did they do it? If Jay-Z's above doing this, why did the 100 billionaires do that?
Listen, for example, there's a movie that's out right now. It's like this guy hooks up with this like musical superstar, and he's working with him, and then the music guy kicks him out. So he went and he goes and records him and finds a video of him with some underage girls, and then basically blackmails him to stay in the organization, right? And if there was a situation where, let's just say there is a video of Jay-Z with an underage girl, and Jay knows that if this comes out, he's going to end up in a Bill Cosby situation. And listen, it might be time to kill somebody. It might be time to pay off some judges. It might be time to buy some jurors. It might be time to slip some money to some doctors and so forth. I get it. Megan Thee Stallion accounts for less than 1% of Jay-Z's wealth. And I think I'm being generous by saying that. I don't think that Jay cares about Megan Thee Stallion to the point of putting his neck on the line and doing a felony. Sorry. Megan Thee Stallion. What happens if you take all of the Megan Thee Stallion money out of Jay-Z's bank accounts? Do you think that his lifestyle changes on any level whatsoever?
No, I don't.
No. Megan Thee Stallion is so unimportant in the grand scheme of Jay-Z's life that he is not going to do anything crazy around this.
You're being dense.
And I'm sure with Desiree Perez, if you look at her entire wealth and you take Megan Thee Stallion out of the equation, I don't think it changes anything. Anything. That's like me telling you, listen, you're about to lose $1,000 unless you do a felony. What are you going to tell me? Man, fuck that $1,000. I'm not even thinking about this. This is the equivalent, man. And people just got to wake up and actually look at reality and question, their own thirst for conspiracy theories. And I proved my point, man. This tweet is over 10 million views already on my own Twitter. And a lot of people are saying, thank you, Vlad. So some of the funniest DMs I get, though, is like, hey, man, since you're not going to be around much longer, can you pay off my debt? I got like $20,000. I've gotten those types of DMs.
Hey, but by the way, just to kind of give you, and again, just, respond to what you just said. I think the same could be said, and these not even billionaires. I think their net worth was like reported like 100 million. There's someone, Lori Loughlin and I forgot the other guy's name. They were actually they were indicted for this college scheme where they basically paid like them and a bunch of other people paid like $25 million to colleges that their kids could get in. And
the whole USC thing and all that. Yeah,
and I think someone, before we get the proof that they did that, I'm pretty sure someone would say, why would somebody be up $100 million, pay millions to get their kid in to get their kid
into a sports program and in turn getting him into a top school. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Listen, I went to a top school. I went to UC Berkeley. Like, I want my kids to go to a top school. But
but people might be like, you're above doing crime to get your kids in college when you have all the money that they don't need college.
Yeah, but I think it's a little different to get your kid into some non-popular sports program and have it fly below the radar. And this has been going on for decades and no one's ever gotten caught. And at the end of the day, like, no one cares about the rowing team at USC and there's never any scrutiny. And okay, cool, my kid will be a top rower. I'll throw a little bit of money to the coach and everyone, whatever. That's different than murder for hire. That's different than buying off a judge. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that all those college moms would not do none of that. What they were doing seemed very below the radar and innocent. And I mean, listen, one of them went to jail for it, so I get it. It is a crime. I get it, but I think they looked at it as like, okay,
Vlad, the majority of what Rock Nation is accused of seems innocent and below the radar. Like they're not like they're not Lil Durk. Like, yo, don't book no credit cards on my thing while they murder their op. Like there's Matt. I talk crazy about Rock Nation all the time. Like, again, there's a couple weird trucks that pop up. Don't know if it's them, but like I haven't came on here and said, yo, I had an attempt on my life. Like, they're not that stupid. But
that's what I made fun of in the tweet. I said that there was an attempt on Tory's life, and you know who paid for it. Nah, bro, there's a story behind that. Tory was trying to talk to this guy's girlfriend. Yo, listen, if I have life in prison, and I managed to somehow, and I'm a pedophile doing life in prison, and I somehow finagled the system to find a girlfriend on the outside. And now this R&B superstar shows up, and now she's potentially not going to rock with me anymore because of him. I can see why I'd want to kill Tory. I get it. I've already killed someone already. What, are they going to give me double life? I'm already here. Not that much of a penalty. Doesn't that make a lot more sense than Jay-Z paying for that hit? Doesn't it?
Hold on.
Doesn't it?
I never said that Jay-Z actually paid for it. Right. What I'm saying is that I do think if we're going with patterns of what we've seen, that Rock Nation, and again, maybe not Jay-Z himself, but the company that Jay-Z owns, Rock Nation, has a heavy incentive to make Meg look like a victim. It's on the individual.
A heavy incentive? Not a heavy incentive. I don't agree. I don't agree. Megan is not a big money maker for Rock Nation. Sorry.
No. I would think a heavy incentive.
No, there's not a heavy incentive. Some incentive, but not a heavy incentive.
Okay, depending on what you call.
No, wait, there's a heavy incentive to make the NFL deal work.
Okay,
I get that.
All right, well, here's the thing.
It's a heavy incentive situation.
Okay.
Megan Thee Stallion is not.
Well, here's the thing. So the deal that they got with the NFL was 5 years for $5 million. Yes, it's tremendous power. We get that. Hold on. Wait. Let me make this point.
It doesn't matter. It's
I know. But let me make this point.
Tremendous amount of legacy on top of that. I don't think Jay-Z's legacy has anything to do with Megan Thee Stallion.
But let me make this point. It's reported and speculated that they at least spent like maybe $2 to $3 million on a civil suit just to silence people who's speaking against her. I think that's heavy enough. If you're down to spend millions of dollars, are you down to spend millions of dollars for if you don't have a heavy incentive, or you're saying Jay-Z just that?
Are they spending it? Oh, wait. You're making assumptions here. Did they spend the money, or did Megan personally spend the money? Because Megan has the type of money to pay for these types of lawyers, as you and I do.
Vlad,
right?
I'm literally telling you that I'm in the deposition with them, that I've spoken to a lawyer that you give credit to all the time. I've consulted him about them trying to get a second deposition. They reviewed the first one and they said, hey, listen, based on all the people I want to call, this deposition, at least they know what Quinn Emanuel books and rates for an attorney per hour. That's at least $100,000 just for my deposition. This is a top lawyer in the land saying it, that you have respect for. They have spent millions of dollars and they got a judgment of $59,000. Is that, now I know you want to say that's just Meg wasted money, But in that same deposition, I have the footage. I will make sure when we sit down, I want you to watch it for yourself, that you could say, why are they in real time say, send this to the CEO of Rock Nation instead of the person who you think seemingly would be paying for it, which is Meg the Stallion.
But she is business connected to the CEO of Rock Nation. Like, this is not a stretch.
So you don't think?
If
so you don't think they have a financial incentive then? So there is a financial incentive. So you're agreeing?
There is, but there's not a financial incentive to the point where you're going to risk your freedom over it.
No, I didn't say they risk their freedom over it. What I'm saying is that they are interested in Meg looking like a victim. Now, whatever means they take, and you know, again, there's so much to go down the weeds with this. If you look into the case with that same CEO we're talking about, right? That's the one who eventually cooperated against the cartel back when her boyfriend at the time was like selling drugs. Then she became the CEO of Rock Nation later. She has a current case versus her own daughter. Her own daughter is echoing everything I'm saying. So here's the thing. Okay, maybe Nicki Minaj is a complete kook. I bet. Maybe the girlfriend of Colin Kaepernick, she's just out there. She's salty because her guy sucks at quarterback. Yeah, okay, maybe Akademiks has a reason. Well, maybe Akademiks, he's just reading too much into it, and when he sees in a deposition that's legal, where he's under oath, where he knows he can't lie, he sees the lawyer say, "Send this to the Rock Nation." It's just completely coincidence. But what about the daughter of the same person? It's not a coincidence. There's an established business relationship between Megan and Desiree. It's not there's no coincidence here. Okay, so now we've established that the business of Rock Nation is also. You don't think, for example, when Snoop Dogg was on trial for murder, you don't think that there was messages passed on to Suge Knight over what was happening? Because Suge, and to Dr. Dre, who both were co-owners of the label, of course. They have an artist. You want to know what's happening legally with the artist. It's not a stretch here. It's totally normal. No, and I agree with you, but if you then said to me, do you think that Death Row helped pay for Tupac's legal case without us knowing that, I would probably say yes. I'm talking about Snoop. No, absolutely. No. But it's in any situation. Atlantic Records, when it came to T.I., they put up money for bail. When it came for Kentrell Gaulden, his first case that he called a 16, or it was 17, when his man got shot in the neck when they went to do a drive-by, they put up $1 million in surety. When it comes to Young Thug, so the point that where you're saying that, oh, this is just Meg and not Rock Nation, like, come on, you're being way too naive. This is both of them. I will give you that, and I think that's a valid point. Did Rock Nation possibly supplement or pay for the lawsuit? Possibly. And probably use whatever influence or whatever they could, maybe legal or not. I don't think it accomplished anything in the grand scheme of things. It probably scares certain people about saying certain things, but the reality is that, like, silencing one or two people in the media in 2026 makes zero impact, right? Like, for example, like the fact that Charlamagne won't speak out against Jay-Z, do you think that really matters at all? Yeah, no, it does. It does. He just got paid $200 million. Of course it matters. He's one of the biggest voices. Yes, it matters. What? I think that you think? I see that. You know who speaks out about Jay-Z? Is a bunch of YouTubers that get 500 views. Yes, the guy who's on the biggest radio show, who, according to pay, he's the biggest in media. If he won't say nothing, it matters. If Joe Rogan won't speak about how atrocious the Epstein files look and how much the government might be still hiding, yes, it matters. Definitely matters. I think that it matters to the extent of this. Let's just say that Jay was caught with an underage girl, right? Not to say there's any truth in this. And Charlamagne doesn't say anything. Do you think that matters at all? There'll be such a huge tidal wave of voices from every part of the world that it doesn't matter whether Charlamagne says it or not. It doesn't matter. Does it matter that Charleston White doesn't go on Vlad TV anymore? No, Charleston is still doing fine. He's still making money. He still has fans, whatever else. He might even have more fans because I didn't put him on. Like, who knows? Like, it doesn't. The really argument matter. Isn't if Charlamagne speaks about it or not. The argument is, are people valid or stupid for either believing that certain things maybe need more conversation? Like, this is what I say. And I'm a guy, I like Trump. I told you this. I like Trump on his first joint and the second joint. I'm always honest. His name was up in the Epstein files. I think he should get investigated too. I think he should get investigated. I think Jay-Z should get investigated. I don't even think Pusha was really on none, but investigate him too. That's my thing. There's nobody above it. So when it comes to like Jay, I'm saying there is a little bit too much where we are like, yo, this guy, and I don't think it's just a bunch of losers who probably are jealous that he's the winner in all of this because he's a billionaire. I think people kind of know that, hey, maybe this motherfucker got away with some shit. And the way we get to the point with Epstein is asking questions. Remember, it's only a couple months ago, the same Department of Justice said to us, they ain't no files. So the people were asking questions. They look like idiots. There's no files. We gave it to you all already. You've seen it all. Couple months later, 3 million files. Who was right? It just depends on what we know at what time. I'm saying, this is my motto of today's stream. Trust your gut. Hey, listen, I'm not disputing certain things. Was Tory convicted? Yes. Was Tory appeal denied? Yes. Is there actual fact that and proof that we know at this time that the judge paid off? No. Did that bodyguard that is now, they're repurposing an old clip, did they see something that night? They weren't there. Did they overhear Kelsey? Perhaps. I don't know. But trust your gut. Take everything you know. Take the initial statements. Meg lies, doesn't tell the truth, supposedly tries to protect, gets mad. She then wants to tell the truth. Her company, Rock Nation, approaches the DA. They then get this indictment going on. We see other things through the media. Kelsey's back flipping, sidestepping. We don't know. And whatever you think from that, and that's the thing I've always defended people who flat out believe. I always believe that Meg was shot. Some people believe there was no shot.
No, she was shot.
I believe she was shot, but for the people who do believe that she never got shot, I kind of understand because there's a million different stories that at some point you might be like, you know what? I'm going to hop off of this, misinformation or misdirection train at this point because we're getting told one thing today, and then the next day we get told another thing. Again, that's how.
And listen, there's a real argument for people saying she didn't really get shot because she herself said that she didn't get shot.
Bingo.
Right. So there you go. Like, if you don't want to argue that part, then cool, we can argue it. And I'll give people like a real.
There we go.
But ultimately, the doctor came forward. But listen, she did say she didn't get shot. So there's a little bit of a gray area there. I totally get it. But the reality is, man, is that Tory put himself in this situation and he antagonized her, and it doesn't like at the end of the day, he could have avoided all this.
Okay, you're right. Hey.
He could have avoided all this. His ego was out of control, and he felt that the internet speaking on his behalf matters in a court of law. And we saw that it doesn't. Those jurors did not care what the internet had to say, because the internet, every poll I did, found Tory not guilty. Every poll that I did on my own Twitter account with tens of thousands of votes
found him not guilty.
All said that Tory's going to be, let out. Tory even had a tweet, before he's like, I'm going to show y'all how powerful my God is. You will stand at my feet and see the truth. And then the day later, he was found guilty. So, it's one of those things, bro. It's one of those things. And I hope, based on what Tory's been through, I think that based on the level of violence that he committed, on Megan, I feel that he has served his debt to society. He has been in prison now for a number of years. He's gotten stabbed up way worse than she was hurt. If you told me right now that Tory's going to come home, I'll say, I'm glad he's coming home. He has served his debt to society.
So you're saying you're not against maybe a commutation of his sentence?
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that, man. Like Tory, people think I have something against Tory. I do not on any level.
Well, the tweet comes across as, hey, listen, this is a heinous guy who's made excuse after excuse to not take accountability of shooting his woman. And he deserves jail.
Well,
So your tweet doesn't
whether you
say,
take
"Hey, listen,
accountability
justice
or
was
not,
served, but this guy's getting a unfair shake. He's locked up, high profile. He's getting stabbed up. He's probably, at this point, given the fact he's been locked up a few years, he should probably get out." That's not how the tweet read. The tweet read, "Keep this motherfucker locked." J and M.
No. The tweet read is he's locked up for a reason, and it's not because of JC. Right. That's how the tweet actually reads. And listen, Sneeko called me first, and the first thing I said on Sneeko's live is exactly what I'm telling you. This whole thing is ridiculous. I still feel the same way I feel, but at the end of the day, Tory getting let out now, I think, is be more than fair. And I'm actually surprised that Megan doesn't feel the same way at this point. Like, look, okay, you shot me in the foot, but you got stabbed the fuck up. You almost died. Megan never almost died. She was twerking like a week later. So at the end of the day, man, like, I hope everything works out. I hope that people see both sides of it, and I hope that some people realize, something. Vlad just showed me that I was kind of stupid this whole time. I really hope some people feel that way.
Well, do you also, or could you process maybe a possible belief that, because this is one of the conspiracy theory, right? Hey, your label is so. By the way, there's been many cases for many different rappers, right? We don't see their label this much involved, even if they have a financial incentive. But perhaps, like for example, Alamo is the label that signs Lil Durk. Now, granted, maybe you could compare Durk and Meg Thee Stallion as a proportionate type of artists, but if you look at Alamo's roster compared to 300 roster, which is Meg's label, Durk is by far the biggest. Him and Rod Wave, they're the biggest artists that has kept that label afloat. They're not in court supporting him, and even if they've had another artist that was a victim, they're not in court.
Well, hold on a second. Durk is not the victim.
Okay, well, they've had other artists that have been victims on major labels where they're not that incentivized. Here's the theory that I'm floating: is it possible that this was probably seen on a business level by the label that was going to, at that time, she was only managed by them. They were looking to sign her away from 1501. Is it possible that they felt that, fuck, even if it really happened, of course, they're probably going to believe her, this is a perfect, firestorm for you to end up and get what Rihanna got in terms of sympathy? And not saying Rihanna's not an amazing, talented artist, but that sympathy universally made Rihanna kind of go to another level in people saying, hey, listen, we have to protect this woman. She got abused by another famous entertainer, and maybe they were looking at possible that angle to say, we're going to lean into this, get a guilty verdict. Now she's a victim. She could now, we see the tears, we see this and third. They put out a documentary about it, and they're hoping to curry the favor of people to say this is a victim. However, it's not worked. So the work is not done until she's a full victim.
Yeah, listen, I get it, and that sounds plausible to me. You're trying to get this client, you're trying to get this artist away from this other independent label. You're already managing them. She ultimately did leave, right? She broke the deal with 1500 and went over there and so forth, and I get it. But if you then say, and then they paid off the judge in order to do that, just to get this artist on their label. Then they paid off jury members in order to do that. Like, this is only no. All the other shit never happened. Did they try to cozy up to her? Sure. Well, of course. If you see a business opportunity, and listen, ultimately she did not become the next Rihanna. So it didn't really work out that way, did it?
Vlad, my whole point is we got to separate some. There's actual kooks out there, right? And people that go too far. It's like saying, yo, it's some Muslims that crash into the World Trade Center. Man, all y'all Muslim niggas is doing. No, there's a few people that's out there. You're right, but the majority of people are normal and sane, and maybe they have questions if there's any association with the judge. Like, for example, they have questions about Tory's former attorney, which is Sean Holly, who, after she stopped working for Tory, she went on to produce a documentary or actually a multi-part series, which she named every episode after Jay-Z songs. And people are like, well, that's interesting. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe it's a coincidence there too. She's defended Tory.
Well. Okay, so let's talk about that whole situation. Remember, she stepped away from the case before it went to trial.
Yes.
Right? Because what obviously happened, well, not obviously, but what I think probably happened was that she told him he's not going to win. Mm-hmm. And she told him that she's not going to represent him in lying court and so forth, and told him certain things that he did not want to hear. So clearly, the fact that he had to scramble and find a whole new lawyer right before trial.
Let's represent that a little bit more fairly. So her main thing, and I read the letters, and by the way, we've seen Megan Cunningham publish them. I guess they have some relationship. Which by the way, I'm actually concerned that how those emails were put out, given the fact there should be attorney-client privilege. But, that's a story for another day. Here's the point. When reading those emails, her main point of discussion was that she advised Tory against the main strategy of what should go forward. And to what you said, and you have said on many podcasts, that Tory should take the stand, Tory wanted to take the stand. She told Tory, I cannot be your attorney if that's what you're going to do, because we've tried a mock interrogation or you taking a stand, and I'm not comfortable with that defense. So that's the majority of the issue. She claims that, according to her, that the trial strategy were not incongruent. Tory was down to get up there and speak for himself, and she felt that's not the case, and also pushing blame on other people was not the case as well. So they disagreed on trial strategy. Because you made it sound like Tory she wasn't down to lie with Tory. No, this is trial strategy.
No, listen. Yeah, I mean, you're right. So your explanation makes perfect sense, and I get it. So clearly there was a falling out, so the two of them are not cool anymore. So if she's kind of like a fuck you too, Tory, you don't know what this kind of shit that Tory said behind closed doors to her and so forth. Ultimately, he got to the lawyer and ended up not taking the stand anyways. Right? So
you're right.
Using
but
the
again,
strategy regardless.
Going back to coincidences, is it coincidental that the lawyer who quits over trial strategy does a documentary and names every episode after the guy who heads up the company that is representing the artist, and that CEO is in court? Is it coincidence?
I think it's petty. I think that's what it is. I think it's a level of pettiness that I can respect, that 50 Cent can respect, and to the whole petty community that I feel I am one of the one of the leaders of. I respect that petty move right there. That's Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers right there. That's petty wop. I think that's what that is. Do you think that somehow Jay paid her to lead Tory down the wrong lane, and she's nodding back to him by naming those chapters after songs of his? Like, that's a stretch. That's a stretch.
Well, do you want to know what I really think?
What do you really think?
So, if for anyone who does a series, especially you're still doing series built for linear TV, even though I think this was going to be on a streamer, which is Netflix, Peacock, or one of those, you're doing deals far out, right? You're not just getting a deal done in a week, producing and putting the stuff out immediately. I believe that, this was a possible source of conflict of interest that by the way, Tory did try to state in his, in his appeal, which, yes, that was rejected, but I do think is valid. If my lawyer, whether being petty or not, was maybe behind the scenes having a business deal done or being negotiated with a company that represents the person I'm going to criminal trial with, I think that could put them in a very interesting place. Hey, if you go forward with this, so you never know. Maybe the lawyer is like, hey, listen, we have a slight disagreement, but we've seen cases where the legal team, and we heard it with Mark Agnifilo. He said, me and Diddy disagreed with the trial strategy. They stayed as his lawyer. So maybe that was the reason that Sean Hawley said, you know what? I got a better opportunity over here. We're not in full agreement here. Hey, right now we're at the last steps before trial. Fuck it. I'm hopping off this train for my own personal benefit. Who knows? Who cares about a Sean Hawley documentary or whatever the case is?
Yeah,
But
right.
Jay-Z and them could be like, hey, if we could fuck up his legal strategy by giving her some deal she can't refuse that has nothing to do with law, yes, that's tactics. That's the invisible hand. But it might be. I think Vlad's looking at it like, yo, bro,
Yeah,
you're
no,
Alex Jones in me now.
I mean, there's a lot of conclusions you're jumping to get to that finish line. And listen, at the end of the day, if it's ever proven, that'd be interesting. And then I would say, wow, there really was some real manipulation happening by Jay-Z. If he really got her, Tory's lawyer off the case last minute like that by offering her a TV deal of some sort.
By the way,
Oh, shit. All right, I get
the
it.
TV show was on
That's
Hulu,
real.
and it was called the entire thing was called Reasonable Doubt, and every episode was a named after a Jay-Z song.
Yeah, man. Listen, and like if that comes out later on, and they find emails and they find wire transfers and whatever else or Bitcoin, because one of the things I said was like I started playing around in the comments, right, in the replies. And they're like, how much did you get paid? I got paid $10K, then $50K during the trial. They paid me Bitcoin so they couldn't trace it. I was like, you can trace Bitcoin. I was like, yeah, I guess you can. I don't know. I don't own any. I'm just making all this stuff along the way. So, people could, have you ever heard of the term cognitive dissonance?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cognitive dissonance, for people that don't know, when you have an idea and you're absolutely sure about it, and then something comes along to disprove your idea, cognitive dissonance means that you excuse that one thing and work your other answers around it.
I've accused people who believe in numerology of that because they'll pick and choose with the numbers to go with whatever narrative. Again, I'd agree with you a little bit on that with cognitive dissonance.
Yeah,
except
people want to believe this Jay-Z mafia thing so badly that when I came forward and I put this out, they were like, oh my God, finally, all my questions have been answered.
I know.
Right?
I know.
And listen, I've had people that, people like Tory call me up and he's upset. He's like, yo, what you're doing isn't sarcasm. You didn't put the wink at the end, whatever. I'm like, no, it is sarcasm. You ain't gonna tell me how comedy's gonna be laid out. This is my version of comedy. I interview comedians. I have a comedic bent to what I do. And this is my version of comedy right here. And to me, the comedy part was people's responses. And there's literally like 100,000 responses based to my tweet or, across all the different platforms. So, this is my thing. And I get it. Some people are not gonna get it. Rock Nation has not contacted me. They don't care. They would have contacted me by now if this was a problem.
They care, but you've done their bidding.
Yeah, so, exactly.
So when you've done, this is something I think they would have paid me $250,000 to do, right? I'm serious.
Damn it, man! I could have got paid for this.
No, I'm serious.
Rock, I'll do another one for you.
I think they would have done that.
I'll do it for 100.
I think they would have done that for me to say, hey, this is all a joke, and all you guys who believe that you're idiots, I only put this up to call you idiots. Because what this happens is now, like, by the way, there's no actual serious outlets running this as some serious shit. They're saying he jokingly does this, he made fun of this. And this is why.
But every outlet has run this, bro. Like, this is everywhere.
Yeah, but again,
everywhere, which really surprises me. I'm like, I honestly, when I wrote that, I thought, this will get like maybe, I don't know, 20, 30K impressions and people go on with their day. I did not think this was gonna happen.
If I don't know, if some of the intellectual minds who, number one, they're concerned about misinformation, and they're concerned about potential, again, maybe the people you're really trying to intend to confuse or play up to, which are the stupid people, if they said, hey, listen, okay, the joke is over, would you delete it, that it's not still confused? I'm not gonna lie to you, there were people that hit me with this. I got woken up on my sleep for your tweet, and that only happens if someone dies. If someone hits the bat signal, someone's dead in hip-hop. And I'm sleeping. It was yesterday. Listen, I'm single and carefree on Valentine's Day. I'm sleeping in my bed alone. I'm sleeping like Patrick the Starfish. I'm just laying there. And I get woken up. And I'm now thinking, well, it's not my dog, so it's not an intruder. You know what I mean? It's not this, so it's not that. And then I look at my phone that's like just jumping all over the place. And I'm like, oh my God, who died? And I grab the phone and it's 17 messages. Have you seen this? Get on live. Hey, what do you know? I won't even, let me tell you this. Hip Hop Police hit me up about this shit. I have a close relationship with them, by the way.
Wait.
Yes.
The NYPD hit you up about this?
Yeah. Well, not in an investigation. Like, I'm cool with the guys. Like, when I go in town, like, bro, people are gonna think it's some cop shit. No, they monitor everything with like events, and they make sure people are not killing each other. It's too dense in New York. So I'll let you know. Like when I go to like Barclays or something, I let hip hop cops know I'm coming to town. Right? Why? That they could relay information back to me to say, hey, just to let you know, Lil Baby, Meek Mill, everybody you don't like is gonna be there. We have credible info on it. If you want to go there and it's going to be an issue, we're not your security. Good luck. That's kind of how they move. This idea that hip hop cops just like, fucking, set people up. They're usually there to make sure these dudes don't kill each other. If you think about the amount of people that's in New York that could have killed each other. Anyway, like one of the guys, they hit me up and they said, is any of this thing true? Now, granted, I'm not sure if I said yes, they'd be like, all right, we're gonna look into it. I'm not sure, but yeah, they're intrigued. Everybody's intrigued. What the fuck?
Yeah, man, my phone is blown up more over this than I think damn near anything else. Like, and this isn't even my biggest tweet. My video game tweet is at like 25 million. I just checked, but every celebrity I know has hit me up. Like literally.
Hey,
everybody.
Could you like after watching the Bad Bunny historic performance at the Super Bowl, have you changed your mind? I've heard there's a couple mamacitas that you know what I mean, they're into, they love Vlad TV. Have you retracted your harsh statement that Bad Bunny performing at the biggest game was, not the wave? You said that before the game happened. What's your thoughts now?
No, I doubled down.
What?
If you look at my tweets after the Super Bowl, and shout out to Johnny Gill. I was at his house, the Super Bowl party, and him and I agree on this as well because we had a conversation about this afterwards. Like there was a whole, big room full of people, celebrities, Oscar winners, producers, whatever else. When the show came on, all the Spanish people that were there started to go crazy. They were like singing along, they were dancing, they were having the best time ever. Everyone else in that house who didn't speak English quietly watched the show because we didn't know the songs, we didn't understand the words.
Interesting.
Right? And me and him talked afterwards, and I was like, yo, what are your thoughts about this? I've always said this because I agree. It's like the lyrics are such an important part of music that you can't just take them out and really expect that, to really convey to people at the highest level. Listen, now you can say, well, what about instrumental music? It's universal. Yes. How often do you see an instrumental song be a top hit? Anyway.
Hey, by the way, could I give
How often do you see a foreign language song? Yes, the Macarena came out like 20 years ago. Gangnam Style came out like 15 years ago. Every 5-10 years, some song will break through, but that's an anomaly. When it comes to music, and I'm a real DJ, like I really DJ'd for years, toured around the world, have mixtape awards, everything else like that. To me, the equivalent of listening to a foreign language song is taking a painting and cutting it in half.
Hey, by the way, Vlad, I still think this argument you have is complete bullshit because you use numbers only when it's convenient. You're saying, when's the last time we've seen a song not in Spanish break through? Well, let me give you a few stats, but I guarantee you're going to reject them all because it's not going to support your point. So Kendrick Lamar, has had few number ones ever. That's a fact. He performed at the Super Bowl. Kendrick Lamar, when it comes to streaming within the United States, not outside, he's been lapped by Bad Bunny. Okay, one of the biggest hip hop figures, I think some people would agree until I go on my 18-month run. Lil Baby got outsold. Lil Baby sold 34,000 record first week. In his second week, we had Bad Bunny, who was competing against him, sold 200 in the United States. Metric wise, there's no hip hop artist. There's even the ones that have performed. If you think that Kendrick Lamar deserved to perform, there's no metric that you could point to that would say that just numbers wise that this guy isn't. The only thing is English. Now, again, if you have any retort on the numbers thing, because I was going to go to the reason why I think it did work.
Well, I mean, when you look at the numbers of that particular song, right? Not Like Us. You don't think that was one of the biggest songs of the year in America? Numbers wise? That song, let's take a look at where that song is numbers wise. right? So based on the strength of that one particular song and the overall impact of the song on top of it, but based on if you're just talking about numbers alone, doesn't that song have over 1 billion streams? Let's take a look.
It does. It definitely does across all
Right. So
platforms.
that's what I'm saying. So if you're talking about numbers, the numbers, not like
Vlad,
us is.
okay, but
hold on.
Numbers wise, he doesn't compete.
Not like us is at 1.8 billion streams. Right now, granted, some time is over a year has passed since then.
Vlad,
but
you're talking
sure
about one
over
song.
1 billion.
You're talking about one song, and literally, Bad Bunny has last year and the year before take 3 of his months, and it's more than Kendrick Lamar's whole year. Okay, that's cumulative in the United States.
I get it.
So I get if you're trying to make it off one song. The point is this, and even with that song, right? Obviously, it matters to us, and this is what I was trying to say. You're being small-minded a bit because we all care about hip hop, right? So if like for example, I'm being a little bit facetious, but I'm like, yo, look at what the players are saying, look at what the culture is saying. Put YoungBoy up there next. The reality is that the majority of Americans, just by the numbers or just regularly, they don't know who YoungBoy is, or they don't know YoungBoy's songs. Outside of that Kendrick Lamar one song that did phenomenal numbers for that year, Kendrick Lamar was not a top streamed artist like that. I'm talking about his entirety of his catalog outside of the
well, I don't know about that because if you actually look at the numbers, all the stars, 2.8 billion, Luther, 1.4 billion. Remember, SZA performed as well.
That all came during that time.
That all came during that time. 2.1 billion.
That all came during that time. And
Humble, which was already out for a long time, 2.9 million. Love, 1.8 billion. Swimming Pools, 1.1 billion. Pride, 1.1 billion. He has a ton of songs over 1 billion streams.
And Bad Bunny has more.
The numbers support his performance.
And Bad Bunny
has more. The
numbers
totally support it, especially in America, especially with an English-speaking audience.
Okay, and Bad Bunny has so Bad Bunny has more. So what I'm saying is that if we're objectively going off numbers, just objectively, right? If we're objectively,
so you're telling me, okay? So what you're telling me is that in America,
so in 2024,
Bad Bunny was streamed more than Kendrick that year in America.
Yes, the beef happened in May 2024. I remember it like is yesterday.
Okay.
So that year, the top streamed artist was Taylor Swift, The Weeknd, Bad Bunny, Drake, then Billie Eilish.
Yeah. Okay. I get it.
And in 2025, Bad Bunny was the number one most streamed artist. Then Taylor Swift. Then The Weeknd, Drake, and Billie Eilish. They all. It's the same list for the last 3 years, with the exception of Pesa Pluma, who's actually a Mexican artist. Interesting.
Yeah.
He's in it in 2023, but it's the same artist. Here's the point what I'm trying to make. Right. Objectively, numbers wise, Bad Bunny kills this guy. Like there's no competition between Bad Bunny and Kendrick. Here's when you say the English thing is that it's dependent on if we're saying that there's consumption for it in the United States, it's about if you or me like it and people that we know, right? Because I don't listen to Billie Eilish, but if she's actually picked up there, whether I understand her words or not, I don't know her songs and I don't really like whatever the hell she got going on, most likely. Yeah. So the thing with Kendrick, okay, you're basically saying Kendrick made it off, and if we look at his streams, it was primarily between the songs that came out during the beef, and yes, he has some duets. Outside of that, he's not streamed that much, so they put a guy on the Super Bowl for one song during a moment. So now you're saying that guy is more valid than a guy who's crushing it for the entire year. For the last, since 2020, I just want to give you the stat. Since 2020, 3 out of 5 years, he's been the top 5 most streamed artist. Taylor Swift has been the other 2. It's Bad Bunny and Taylor Swift. By the way, every day this year, every single day, Bad Bunny is the most streamed artist on Spotify, with the exception of a few days, and those days only went to Taylor Swift. It's a 1-2 show. If you can't get Taylor Swift and you want the biggest, you got to go with Bad Bunny. Now,
all right. So hold on. I just looked it up while I was talking to you. I did some chat GPTs and I kind of focused on the US. So in 2024, Bad Bunny was streamed between 4.7 and 5.2 billion. Kendrick was streamed between 4.1 and 4.6. It's really close. The two of them had similar streaming numbers that year. In the US only. Now, globally, it's a whole different story. In the US only, they were very similar in streams.
Okay, perfect. Now you get to the argument that I want to have. Do you think the Super Bowl is meant to be a US catering event, or is it a global catering event? What would you think?
I think that the reality is that it's a U.S. catered event, but the aspiration is for it to be a global event. And this is why they chose Bad Bunny that year. this year. Yeah.
Absolutely not. I think the opposite. I think they've been trying to get to international markets. They've flaunted
They've
the
been
idea.
trying. No. But primarily right now, it's still a U.S. event. They want it to be more global.
I'm
but
not
right
saying
now,
that's primarily, but what I'm saying the goals of the NFL. The goals of the NFL is
the goal is definitely global, 100%.
They have games almost
they want
every
it to be
week.
bigger than soccer. Yeah, they want it to be the next, soccer. I get it.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is why they did that. And, ultimately it makes sense business-wise for what they do in it. I mean, and does Bad Bunny deserve to be on that stage? 100%. Am I happy that he got on that stage? 100%. Mm-hmm. Did I watch the show and did not enjoy it because they don't speak English, and watch a whole bunch of other people that don't speak English have the same reaction? Yes. And that was my point. I feel that right now, it should have been an artist that catered to the actual primary audience, which is English speaking, and it should have been in English. And that's my point. And
okay.
People can disagree with you.
So let me ask you a question. When Kendrick Lamar hops up on the Super Bowl platform and he's performing a song based on a diss, which is a diss song to one guy that, yes, culturally and the entire hip hop is clued in, you think that someone who's a Zach Bryan fan who's from Oklahoma or maybe Nashville, Tennessee, you think they know what the hell's going on? So again, the point is you can't have
but here's the thing. Whether they know what's going on or not, whether they're a fan of the song and can sing along or not is one thing, but to actually listen to the show and understand the lyrics, I think that's a big deal as opposed to, basically exposed, basically listening to a bunch of gibberish because you don't understand the language. There are some hot rappers out of China, out of Russia, or,
you
out
think
of Japan,
during the Super Bowl
right?
where they advertise the most amount of beer, alcohol, and other, mind-altering substances, they're thinking about, I hope y'all get the lyrics? Because this is my next argument. My next argument was going to be this. I think of all the Super Bowls, obviously the Dr. Dre and that conglomerate, but also Shakira and was it J-Lo or Shakira?
J-Lo, yeah. J-Lo and Shakira. Yeah.
I think what this Super Bowl checked the box off was that it felt intimate. It was full of vibes. Yes, I get it. There was not many songs you could sing, line for line, but it's like feel-good music that you might not know. Have you ever gone to like an event where maybe you don't know all the songs, but it's just feel-good music? Right. And that's what happens when you go outside your comfort zone and you go to other cultures or other type of music that might play music that is sonically appeasing, whatever. You might not know everything, but it's feel good. I thought they did a great job giving really feel good music and the vibes were there. And I think
it was a cool show, man. It was well produced, everything else like that. But the thing is that Bad Bunny, from what I see, appears to be a lyricist. He's not like a singer or harmonizer where just...
No, hold on.
He appeared... Bad Bunny, is he just singing, repeating a phrase over and over again and just singing melodies? I feel like there's actual lyrics and meaning behind his songs. His songs are pretty dense.
Hold on. You're right. But
his songs seem very dense lyrics-wise. Right, so clearly he has something to say, and there's clearly messages he's trying to portray in his music and try to get along to the actual listener.
Like this.
My thing is that I missed all of that. Even if I look up what the meanings are or the translations, it's not the same in terms of the nuances of someone actually singing and so forth. So people who listen to Kendrick Lamar at least can hear what he has to say.
Yeah, but nobody
people watching Bad Bunny have no idea outside of the vibes. That's it, man. And that's the point. I'm a serious music person, man. The DJ, my name is not just for show.
I get it, but you're also you're with a hip hop mind to say lyricism. A lot of times it's the melody. It's what drives the song. Like for example, first of all, I've dated hella Latinas. I love Latinas. I love my black women too. But still, I understand a decent amount of Spanish. I took some Spanish in high school, but when I hear the Monaco song, I know the beat and I know the general melody, and I turn up to that song without knowing the lyrics or verbatim or what they mean. That happens a lot, right? Again, I only know Titi Me Pregunto because he says it when the song starts. But do I know every word? It's a feel good type of thing. And the thought that you're saying that have you been to the Super Bowl? I'm pretty sure you have, right?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I've been to the Super Bowl and I watched Usher, and the experience in the stadium, it's you see how many people that, number one, first of all, I remember when I went, I had tickets this year. I gave it to my brother, whatever. These are $40,000 tickets, and $40,000 a pop, right? yo, these people don't know these songs. You get what I'm saying? Like, I had an amazing time watching Usher, and I'm watching him like do all this amazing stuff, and I think it plays better on TV as it does in a stadium because I'm sitting next to some white guy who's a hillbilly who got money because I don't know, like his parents are from like Nashville that own some product that I don't know about, and they're just standing there like, what the fuck is Usher? They don't even know what it is. So the idea that you appease everybody and just because they could understand it, they like it. No, they stand there and they look at it and they're like, what the heck is this? That's why when I think Kai Cenat said he went to the Super Bowl and that nobody was going crazy for Kendrick shit, I agree. If it was that Summer Jam, they probably would, but it's a Super Bowl. Yo, when I went to the Super Bowl, I remember, listen, and think about how much, I'm thinking I'm going to see all these rappers that, nigga, I brought all type of security saying, yo, we might have to rumble in this bitch. There was all white people. There ain't no niggas there. And when you seen them bum ass niggas, they were dolly because it cost so much. The idea is this. The idea is this, Vlad. There is not like an abundance of cultural people at these events that they need to please. It's usually everybody's never going to be happy. If you play Taylor Swift, there's going to be someone who's saying, why isn't it not real rock and roll? Or why is it not real country?
I get it, man. I get all this, right? But at the end of the day, there's language. That's it. All I'm saying is in a language that the core audience, and I looked it up, 70% of the NFL Super Bowl audience is based in America. Only 30% is based outside, and that's scattered with a whole bunch of different countries. Right. Some, mostly in England and Australia, I'm sure, English-speaking countries. But yeah, people aren't watching the Super Bowl outside of the U.S. the way they are here. And in America, 85% of the population doesn't speak Spanish. So that's
Vlad,
all I'm saying.
I want to hook you up with an interview. I want to hook you up with an interview that you could get a little bit more insight. I'll give an example. I remember one of the highest viewed episodes that I did on Off the Record. I had to deal with Spotify at the time. We used to do like these weekly meetings, and they're definitely numbers focused, as any company who's giving you millions would be. And one of the interviews, like I remember doing the WAC 100 6ix9ine thing. We knew that was going to blow it out the park. There was a few other ones we know I was going crazy. And one of the ones that was really sneakily, surprisingly, really popular was when I sat down with Anwell, because I don't think there was many conversations that bled into the hip hop culture that I kind of I'm surveying and reporting on, but the numbers were so ridiculous. I get and I say that to you.
Who's the artist?
Anwell. And I say
Anwell. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll do Anwell.
And I say that to you because I think that you're, again.
So Young Thug's kid, man, I don't know his name, so I'm not even going to try and say it or anything. But what X said about Young Thug and rappers about being parents and stuff, he's 100% right, bro. Like, a lot of these men, they don't believe in condoms. They don't believe in playing out. And, like, they get a bunch of money, bro. Like, you're going to have the finest of the finest woman, bro. So, every attractive woman they're with, they just put babies in them. And the women want the kids because they think they're going to get money from it, or they think they're in love with them because of their status. So, or both. You feel me? So they're going to get pregnant by these men, and these men, you feel me, that don't necessarily want them or the kid. They just want to get them pregnant and then dip. And then they feel a type of way, you feel me, creating broken homes. The women probably make the kids hate the father. The kids, you feel me? Like, bro. Hey, man, like, our favorite rappers, like, the Futures, Future probably created so many broken homes. Like, they all, like, that's the rapper start package, bro. Street rapper start package. Have, like, 5 to 10 plus kids by 5 to 10 different women. Like, bro, that is not a happy life. Okay, you're lit right now, bro, but okay, imagine when you fall completely off. Like, it's sad to say, bro, everyone falls off, bro. Like, everyone falls off. It's sad to say it, bro. Not everyone is a Beyonce and all that stuff, bro. You're gonna fall off, bro. Like, so when everyone completely falls off, gang, what are you gonna do? You're not really gonna have much. It's your family. You were never there for them. Feel me? The money's probably drying up. You don't really care about them. Unless you just settle down and you pick one of your favorite family, or you just start a whole new family, then it's just a bunch of other broken families, bro. But it's your boy Big Act News. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and let me know how you guys feel about everything. I'm out.